Welcome to lesson number 11 out of a total of 15. So we are closing in on completion of this course. And congratulations on doing a very effective job with a totally online environment. You've managed very well. Today we're going to talk about communication. And this is the most appropriate topic because what we're doing right now is using technology to communicate. So as we take a look at the chapter, it opens with a discussion of current use of technology expanding in businesses of all sorts, classrooms as well, and using technology to communicate. There are a number of advantages of this, but we want to look first of all at the disadvantages. The drawbacks of using technology to communicate include the following 8. Number 1, information security becomes a problem. When we record something like this, it's accessible to all, and if it's in a business setting, it may be difficult to restrict people from access to various files without taking an extraordinary effort. Secondly, privacy issues are a concern. Sometimes personal records can be involved, or maybe just the conversation itself needs to be private. Number 3, the workday is extended. In other words, you're online, you're sending memos, doing accounts, whatever it is, it's going to extend your day and you wind up working longer hours than you would, excuse me, if you were in an office environment and suddenly people get up and start leaving. So this is a further drawback. Number 4, nonverbal cues in communication. The nonverbal cues are often missing. The video format that we're using now helps overcome a little bit of that, and you are getting some verbal cues from me, but in typewritten messages, using email for instance, that's absent. Number 5, multitasking is increased. That is, the worker will be doing multiple jobs and switching back and forth while operating online. Number 6, the volume of information is overwhelming. That is, it just flows past. The eyes get tired. In a normal office environment, you have to shuffle paper, meet with people. Online, you just screen. Number 7, the interaction among team members changes. It's still present, but it certainly changes and is no longer face-to-face. And finally, small talk and social interaction are greatly reduced when we use technology to communicate. Second topic, or second learning objective in the chapter, is to describe how the communication process works. And here we have 5 obvious steps that are outlined, or 5 elements that the textbook deems essential to communication process. Number 1 element is the sender. Number 2 element is the message. Number 3 is the medium. That means the manner in which it is transmitted. Number 4 is the receiver. And number 5 is the interpretation given to the message. This medium is a very interesting issue. Back when I was in high school, there was a very famous author named Marshall McLuhan who wrote a book called The Medium is the Message. Very influential work for its time, still today, and I recommend that you take a look at that if you're able to find it online. Marshall McLuhan, The Medium is the Message. Learning objective 3, discuss how to choose the appropriate communications medium. And here we have, of course, a number of media for communication purposes. The richness are determined by 4 factors. Number 1, the availability of feedback. Number 2, the channel that's used to convey the information. Number 3, the type of communication, personal or impersonal. And number 4, language sources used in including body language, natural or numeric. The richest forms of communication are face-to-face and telephone. Computer printouts and video displays produce very low richness and are very impersonal. Sometimes this is desirable. For instance, if you're buying something on eBay, I don't want to see you in your house coat, just want to buy your product. Thank you very much. The second consideration is the issue of complexity. And there are 3 zones of communication effectiveness. If the message is simple, a medium of low richness can be selected. If the problem is complex, a medium high in richness would be used. Media usage is significantly different across organizational levels. Note that. Number 4, explain how perception, inference, language, and status can lead to communication breakdowns. We've talked about this a little already, but we will go into it in some depth in class. Perception, a person's view of reality, colors the way they see things. And we'll discuss this, I think, at length in class. Lesson number 4, or objective number 4, identify 8 ways to overcome barriers to communication. And the book for you lists these 8. I'll mention them briefly here. Knowing the steps in the communication process, using number 2, simple, repetitive language. Say it twice, say it over again. When you repeat, it becomes more clear. Notice what I'm doing here. I'm still on number 2 and I'm repeating it. But remember to use simple, repetitive language. Number 3, use empathy. Empathy meaning I feel the way you feel, or I understand the way you feel, is the idea here. Number 4, understanding body language. And number 5, learning how to receive and give feedback. And number 6, developing effective listening habits. And number 7, improving writing and speaking skills. And number 8, understanding the impact of gender differences on communications. Believe it or not, it does make a difference. We are all human beings and communicate in fundamentally the same way, but the highlights, the overtones, the additional information does vary whether one is man or woman. Describe how 4 steps in the communication process can help improve the manager's communication skills. Learning objective 6, and we'll look at these 4 steps in order to improve our own communication skills. Learning objective 7, describe the importance of using simple, repetitive language, empathy, and body language in achieving effective communication. That one is kind of obvious from the stated title, and we'll look at examples. Number 8, learning objective, discuss 10 guidelines for developing better listening habits. And we love to repeat that saying often. If you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in that proportion. Listening becomes then twice as important as talking. Number 9, identify 4 ways for improving writing skills. This, of course, is a favorite topic of teachers like myself, and I will delve into this with you. Number 10, explain 4 parts of PLAN, a acronym for improving speaking skills, and discuss how gender makes a difference. You will be called upon to speak, and it is probably the number 1 phobia that most people have, is a fear of public speaking. It is a part of a larger fear called the fear of looking stupid. And people would rather go to the dentist than look stupid. They would rather have oral surgery than to speak in public. But once you get used to it, it actually is not so bad. So we're going to do a little practice on that. Number 11 learning objective, explain how to manage stress more effectively. And we will look into that. Our outline for our lecture, or for our chapter, is quite extensive. I'm going to skip over it at this part because we'll cover the chapter in class together. No, we won't. Not this particular class. Okay, so you're to read chapter 11, and we'll pay particular attention to these various issues in the form of discussion questions. Also note that this week we have a short quiz due for the previous 2 chapters, 9 and 10. So we'll take a look at those. And meanwhile, continue your reading, and we will discuss these things in the discussion forums. Thank you very much.